I Hate Intros, Dr. Stone Season 1, Episode 1. We kick things off at a high school where a bunch of students, including the main character, Senku Ishigami, look on as one of their classmates goes to confess his love. Taiju Oki is the brave soul about to put his heart on the line in front of everyone. And in the other corner, the recipient of his imminent love confession is Yuzuriya Ogawa. As he goes to take the plunge, there's a bright green light and suddenly everybody in the world is turned to stone. 3,700 years pass by, and all Taiju can think about the entire time is being able to nail Yuzuriya. He is finally able to break free from his petrified state, and he finds the brainiac Senku had already broken free. Senku had woke up 6 months earlier and already set the foundation for decent living conditions. Now that he has the strong Taiju around to help him out, they can continue rebuilding civilization. The two work hard at finding a cure to the petrification, and after 1 year, they succeed in creating this revival fluid using some miracle water and bat guano. Episode 2. They make enough revival fluid to free one person, and we all know who Taiju wants, so they go to use it on Yuzuriya. Taiju's kind of papega and doesn't want her to be naked when she wakes up, so instead of just throwing something over the top of her, they decide, hey, let's stall things out until we get chased by lions. They're too weak and can't fight the lions, so they decide that they need to use the fluid on Tsukasa Shishio, who was supposed to be a really strong fighter. Turns out this guy's like Superman and Tarzan had a goddamn baby, so he one-taps one of the lions and chases the others off. The three continue working together, each pulling their own weight in the things that they're good at. Taiju is then sent by Senku to collect some seashells so that they can grind them into calcium carbonate for a variety of reasons that I don't remember. Then one day, Tsukasa reveals another side of himself when he breaks one of the petrified people, essentially killing a man. He says that this is a new world, and they should only wake up good people, not people who are going to corrupt it. Senku challenges him on this idea, stating that he's going to work to free every person he can. Episode 3. After figuring out that Tsukasa's kinda fucking crazy and wants to kill the majority of the population, which she's already started doing by destroying tons of bodies, Senku takes measures against him. He pretends like he messed up getting revival fluid, and Tsukasa volunteers to go get some more, mostly just so he can find the source of the fluid for his own selfish use. While he's away, Senku reveals that he actually has more revival fluid, and they quickly use it to wake up Yuzuriya. The three of them try to stand up to Tsukasa, but they can clearly see that they don't stand a chance, even with Senku's scuffed crossbow, which proves to be useless. Tsukasa surprisingly doesn't do anything serious about this, he just says to stay out of his way and proceeds to destroy more statues, giving the others the chance to plot their next move. They make it look like they fled, and wind up coming across the Great Buddha of Kamakura, which they use as a landmark to guide them to Hakone. Once they come across a volcanic hot spring, Senku implements his plan to make a jump in their technology and create a gun to stop Tsukasa. Episode 4. Senku is successful in making his first batch of gunpowder, but then Taiju accidentally ignites it and causes a small explosion. The smoke from the explosion is seen as a smoke signal from other possible survivors, and they send up a smoke signal of their own. Knowing there's a risk of giving their position away to Tsukasa, Senku decides to send up more smoke signals. Tsukasa closes in on them in no time and takes Yuzuriya hostage, while Taiju is out gathering wood for the signals. He threatens to kill her unless Senku gives him the recipe to the revival fluid. She is more than happy to give up her life in order to keep Senku alive, because as long as he knows the recipe and Tsukasa does it, he can't kill Senku. Good guy Senku decides it's not worth her life, and he tells Tsukasa the recipe in order to guarantee her safety. Now that he knows the recipe, he no longer has any reason to keep Senku alive, so he prepares to kill him in the last scene. Episode 5. Senku was supposedly killed by Tsukasa after he dealt a fatal blow to his neck. As Taiju returns, Tsukasa thinks that he could retaliate, so he prepares to kill him as well. He throws a rock up, which draws the attention of Tsukasa, thinking he was launching an attack, but the real attack would be coming from Yuzuriya. She throws all the gunpowder that Senku had made at Tsukasa, and when the rock lands, it causes an explosion that gives them the distance they need to grab Senku's body and make a run for it. Figuring that Senku had to have had a plan, they realize that there was a piece of petrification still on Senku's neck. They hope that by pouring some of the revival fluid on it, maybe he could be brought back. We then get a flashback of when Senku had very first woke up in the stone world. It shows his first days of learning how to hunt, gather, and craft everything he would need while being constantly judged by some douchebag monkeys. Episode 6. Still in our flashback, Senku realized that he needed some brawn to his brain, so when he managed to find Taiju, he works on anything he could think of to bring him back. Anyways, back up to the present where the revival fluid works and Senku is brought back despite his injuries, making him even more curious as to how the regenerative properties worked. After trying to come up with a new plan, Senku decides that since Tsukasa thinks he's dead, the best course of action would be for them to split up. Taiju and Yuzuriel will go and infiltrate Tsukasa's camp as spies in order to keep an eye on what he's up to. Meanwhile, Senku will start looking for the people that sent up the other smoke signals in hopes that they can form a resistance of science against Tsukasa. Jump on over to Tsukasa, who gets attacked by a new face, the cutie-chan Kohaku, who had seen what he had did to Senku while he was trying to protect Yuzuriya. She tries bringing Tsukasa to justice by killing him, but he manages to knock a tree on top of her, ending the fight. Senku saw the commotion from a distance, and when he gets there, he finds the pinned Kohaku. Using a block and tackle, he manages to lift the tree off of her and sets her free, possibly laying the foundation to a glorious harem. Episode 7. Kohaku takes Senku back to her village of 40 people, where they're not allowed inside because outsiders are forbidden from entering. That's when we meet the guards protecting the village, Kinro and Ginro, who are vigilant about keeping Senku out. We get another new face in the self-proclaimed sorcerer named Chrome, who is a scuffed Stone Age scientist. He challenges Senku to see who can make the superior sorcery, which clearly Senku dumpsters him at. And after that, the two become friends. Chrome makes Senku realize that no matter how hard Tsukasa tries, there is no preventing the inevitability of more scientific minds like Chrome. Senku also learns that the reason Chrome had taken up the scuffed sciences, aka sorcery, is because Kohaku's sister Ruri is sick with an unknown disease. This makes Senku explain what the world used to be like and the advancements of the previous world. This explanation segues into him agreeing to help save Ruri's life by making the first antibiotics. Episode 8. Senku employs the help of Kohaku and Chrome to start gathering the necessary supplies in order to make the antibiotics. While out working, they come across one of the villagers named Suika, who is wearing a melon on her head. Because she wears the melon, no one ever has any use for her in the village, so she just wants to help out. Senku is of course more than happy to get all the help he can, and this is also the first time someone didn't care about the melon on her head, so Suika goes full tryhard mode. The four of them are trying to turn iron sand into iron, but they don't have enough manpower. Since the villagers are the only candidates for recruitment, they send Suika into the village, using her incognito mode to gain more info on how to win them over. After hearing Chubster talk about wanting different food, Senku decides that's how he's gonna win them over. He uses his knowledge to create the first bowl of ramen, which to him is disgusting compared to the old world ramen, but everyone else thinks it's the food of the gods. Next step is to set up a ramen cart just outside the village, enticing the villagers to come and try his new creation. Episode 9. The ramen gig is a huge hit, and a lot of villagers fall in love with the flavors. Everything seems to be going as planned, and then we meet a new phase, Gen Asagari. Gen is a magician from the old world and was set free by Tsukasa. Tsukasa had tasked Gen with going and confirming that Senku was actually killed, but after seeing all of the impressive things that Senku was capable of coming up with, he considers changing teams. In order to keep Tsukasa off Senku's trail, he says that he's gonna give him a false report, saying that Senku was never found. Gen is brought in to be a part of the workforce, and the gang successfully creates iron. After a thunderstorm rolls in, Senku jumps into action to take advantage of the lightning in order to make magnets. Gen also proves to be somewhat useful by warding off a potential fight with the villagers using some elementary magic tricks. Having used the lightning to create some magnets, they go on to use them to build a power generator. They convince the guards, Kinro and Ginro, to operate the generator, which leads to the light bulb being reinvented. Episode 10. While talking, they learn that Gen still hasn't fully aligned with Senku because he just wants to look out for his own best interests, even if that means siding with Tsukasa. We then get a quick flashback of when Gen was first revived by Tsukasa. He had collected a lot of people that he deemed worthy of saving into one spot, and Gen was one of them. Gen was then given the task of going out and confirming Senku's death shortly after. While out by himself at night, Gen is suddenly attacked, but can't get a good look at the assailant. After the attack, Suika volunteers herself and her incognito mode to find out what had happened from the villagers while everybody else tends to his wounds. Suika comes back with the information that the man who came looking for a fight during the storm, named Magma, was the one responsible. Magma's goal is to win the grand bout, which would allow him to marry Ruri and become village chief. He casually says out loud that he doesn't want the hassle of dealing with a sickly wife and plans on framing her suicide once he's chief. Apparently everybody's fucking deaf except for Kohaku, but then Kohaku doesn't tell anybody because she's fucking stupid. She instead decides that she needs to defeat him at the previous grand bout and prevents the marriage. They decide that they're just gonna have to beat him again in this grand bout, so Kohaku trains with Kinro and Ginro in order to compete and protect Ruri. Meanwhile, despite his injuries, Gen makes his way back to Tsukasa, who has started putting together a group of formidable allies. Gen goes on to tell Tsukasa that Senku was confirmed dead, and in exchange for this, Senku had agreed to make him a cola. Episode 11. Suika was diagnosed with the blurry sickness, which is really just her being nearsighted, and the helmet helps her see a bit better. After learning this, Senku uses quartz sand to make glass and turns it into glasses for Suika, allowing her to see the world clearly for the first time. Senku then turns his focus to making glass lab materials to drive their progress forward. The only problem is that none of them can glass blow the material properly. Chrome is forced to employ the craftsman Kasuki against his will to help them. Even though he's against it at first cause he's old and stuck in his ways, he comes around after seeing them fail so many times and makes a collection of beakers for Senku to work with. With the Kingdom of Science making so many huge strides, Senku then sets his sights on making Ginro a new silver spear. They then plan to go on a dangerous venture to get some more materials. Episode 12. The silver spear was supposed to be just a gift to Ginro, but really it was designed as a tool to detect poisonous gas coming from a pool of sulfuric acid. They need to collect some of the sulfuric acid in order to make the antibiotics, but can't get through the toxic gas. Senku designs a gas mask to weather the gas and allow them to get to the pool, but in the off chance that something goes wrong, he wants Chrome to stay behind so that Science doesn't die with them both. Chrome refuses, of course, and convinces him to let him tag along, so they both go to the pool. Everything is going well enough until suddenly Chrome slips and falls. Luckily, Ginro, who initially wanted to stay behind, makes it to Chrome just before he falls into the pool and saves his life with his spear. Despite the near-death experience, the mission was accomplished and they got what they came for. I'm gonna be doing the future seasons, and you can find that on the left side whenever I'm finished with it, or you can check out all of the Dr. Stone recaps in the playlist on the right side. You can also find the links in the description below, and the only thing I hate more than intros is outros.